10 years after the apocalypse, Jake and his father venture into the forest to hunt for food. They come across an abandoned car and carefully inspect it for anything useful. While searching, Jake accidentally honks the car horn. The loud noise echoes through the forest, immediately followed by the distant barking of dogs. Jake and his father quickly hide inside the car. Soon, a pack of wild dogs surrounds the vehicle, sniffing around, but eventually, they lose interest and run off in another direction. They continue their journey and eventually reach their hidden cabin, which is camouflaged with tree branches. Inside, Jake's ill wife waits, in desperate need of care and the medicines they have struggled to obtain. The next morning, Jake wakes before the others and steps outside to relieve himself. Suddenly, he hears rustling in the distance and quickly rushes back inside and peers through the gaps between the logs. His heart pounds as he sees a group of cannibals is approaching their shelter. Jake rushes to get dressed and gather supplies. The family sneaks out the back of the cabin, moving as quickly and quietly as possible to avoid detection. Along the way, Jake's backpack slips from his shoulders, but there's no time to retrieve it. The father orders Jake and his wife to hide inside a pit, choosing to confront the cannibals alone. He manages to wound a few of them, but they ultimately overpower him, brutally killing him as his son and daughter-in-law watch in horror from their hiding place. After killing him, the cannibals rummage through the family's belongings and take the father's corpse with them. Jake sees their leader find his lost backpack, the one with his wife's medicine. Once the danger has passed, Jake and his wife crawl out of their hiding place. Back inside the shelter, he lays his suffering wife down and examines her worsening stomach wound. He searches for medicine, but all he finds is an empty pill bottle. Seeing his wife suffering, he decides to go after the cannibals and take back the medicine, no matter what. He puts on his shoes, locks the door, and covers the entrance with branches. With only a t-shirt and underwear, he sets off into the freezing wilderness, following the cannibals' trail. The bitter cold bites at his skin, but he pushes forward. Eventually, exhaustion overtakes him, and he collapses near a river. When Jake regains consciousness, he spots a young boy nearby. He struggles to stand and follows the child. The boy runs into an old building where he lives with his grandfather. As the boy slams the door in Jake's face, he violently breaks it down and storms inside. Without hesitation, he yanks the jacket off the old man, steals his pants and shoes, and leaves without a word. After some time, Jake stumbles upon a campfire in the woods. He finds what remains of his father, his bones picked clean. He then digs a small grave and buries what little is left. Jake resumes his search for the cannibals, and soon, he finds an abandoned tent. To be safe, he throws a stone inside before entering. The tent contains human remains, along with a few useful items, including a whistle and a knife. Later, Jake notices one of the hunters filling a container with water from a stream. He decides to follow her, hoping she will lead him to the cannibals' camp, and his plan works. When the woman briefly steps away, Jake sneaks closer to recover his belongings. He manages to find his backpack, but it is empty. As he searches through the cannibals' things, the female hunter returns and attacks him with an axe. Jake fights back, managing to strike her head with a rock. He continues searching the trailer for his wife's medicine, but the pills are nowhere to be found. Soon, the entire group of cannibals returns from their latest hunt, and Jake quickly covers his tracks and drags the woman's body away. Unfortunately, he loses his axe in the process, but has no time to go back for it. He hides behind a tree and watches as the cannibals arrive with a new prisoner, the same young boy from before. Jake spots the leader of the group giving medicine to an injured member before locking the pills in a chest. Meanwhile, another member leaves to relieve himself near the tree where Jake is hiding. Jake stays completely still and remains undetected. However, as the hunter heads back, he spots the axe Jake left behind. Realizing that an outsider is nearby, he warns the others, who immediately begin searching the area. Jake quickly covers the hunter's body with leaves and carefully moves toward the trailer, determined to free the boy. However, an injured hunter, too weak to help in the search, stands in his way. At the same time, the boy suddenly breaks free and runs. Taking advantage of the distraction, Jake rushes to the chest, but it is locked. commotion draws the other cannibals back to camp, forcing Jake to hide under the trailer. When they discover that the boy has escaped, the leader furiously knocks out the injured hunter for failing to guard him. As night falls, the cannibals find the missing hunter's body. They hold a strange farewell ritual before setting the corpse on fire. Jake, still hiding, notices a key around the leader's neck. He waits until early morning before sneaking into the shelter. He carefully maneuvers through the darkness and cuts the key from the leader's neck. He then unlocks the chest and finally finds the stolen medicine. Before leaving, he locks the trailer door from the outside to slow the cannibals down. The cannibals immediately chase after Jake, firing arrows at him. He dodges skillfully and reaches the house where the boy and his grandfather live. Inside, he discovers the old man's mangled body, clearly torn apart by wild dogs. Shocked, Jake stumbles outside, but is immediately struck by a powerful blow to the head. Jake regains consciousness to find himself back at the cannibal's lair. He spots his knife nearby and attempts to reach it, but the leader notices and kicks it away. As the group becomes distracted again, Jake notices the whistle he took earlier lying in the grass. He quickly blows it with all his strength. The loud sound attracts the wild dogs, forcing the cannibals to scatter. In the chaos, Jake grabs the knife, cuts his ropes, and hides behind some logs, waiting for the danger to pass. When things quiet down, Jake quickly gathers his belongings and runs. The dogs chase the cannibals, and in an attempt to save himself, the leader wounds one of his own hunters, leaving her behind as bait for the animals. The remaining cannibals split up to search for Jake. One of them spots Jake's hand peeking out from behind a tree and rushes to attack, but it's a trap. Jake ambushes him from above, and after a brutal fight, Jake emerges victorious. Jake quickly puts on the dead hunter's clothes, covers the body with his own jacket, and drags him away. Now armed with a bow and arrows, Jake prepares for his final battle against the cannibal leader. He shoots an arrow into the leader's leg, but just as he aims for a killing shot, the bowstring snaps. The two men draw their knives for a final battle, but before they can fight, the wild dogs return. Jake takes his chance and runs, leaving the injured leader behind to be devoured. On his way home, Jake finds an abandoned house with a half-decayed body inside. He searches for supplies and weapons, but suddenly hears footsteps. The cannibal leader has survived. Jake grabs an assault rifle and prepares to shoot, but it's empty. The leader lunges at him with an axe, choking him. Desperate, Jake presses on the leader's leg wound, causing him to recoil in pain. In that moment, Jake grabs a pistol and shoots him in the head. Finally, Jake can return home. As he passes the abandoned house where the boy and his grandfather lived, he leaves behind a few cans of food, hoping the child survived. When he reaches his cabin, his heart drops, the door is opened, and the place is wrecked. His wife is gone. Devastated, he falls to the ground, but then a hand touches his shoulder. He turns to see his wife standing behind him, alive.